Protests in Iran have entered the third week. Rights groups claim the death toll has crossed 640 and it is only mounting. US President Trump says that Tehran has crossed all his red lines. Trump has also fired his first salvo against Iran, a 25% tariff on any country that is trading with Iran. And White House says airstrikes are still on the table, but diplomacy is preferred.
Well, I think one thing President Trump is very good at is always keeping all of his options on the table, and airstrikes would be one of the many, many options that are on the table for the commander-in-chief. Diplomacy is always the first option for the president. However, with that said, the president has shown he's unafraid to use military options if and when he deems necessary, and nobody knows that better than Iran.
Trump claimed that Iranian leadership has reached out and wants to negotiate. A Wall Street Journal report citing officials claims that Trump is currently leaning towards authorizing fresh military strikes. But some aides close to Trump are urging Trump to try diplomacy before a military retaliation is considered. Trump is set to meet his national security team on Tuesday. He will be presented with a wide range of options, and these will, of course, include military strikes on government-related sites in Iran or launching cyber attacks and boosting anti-government accounts online. Trump has already activated one of these options, tariffs. The US president announced a tariff on any country trading with Iran via social media, a 25% tariff if you trade with Iran. He wrote, any country doing business with the Islamic Republic of Iran will pay a tariff of 25% on any and all business being done with the United States of America. According to the economic database Trading Economics, Iran's main trading partners are China, Turkey, United Arab Emirates, and Iraq. The New York Times, citing a senior US military official, said that commanders in the region would want more time to prepare for any possible retaliation by Iran. There is also a fear that any military intervention may invite Iranian retaliation on Israel. US officials also fear that military action could unify the Iranian public behind its government. Iranian officials have denounced Trump's threats of military action and threatened to strike US bases and Israel if Trump follows through. Reports also say that Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi reached out to US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. And this is as per a report on Axios, which cited sources saying that the outreach seemed to be an effort by Iran to de-escalate with the US, or at least buy more time before Trump takes further steps. All right, to discuss this further, I'm now being joined on the broadcast by Aso Saleh, journalist and Kurdish politics analyst. Mr. Saleh, thanks so much for making time for us and joining us here on the broadcast. To start right off, sir, there was a lot of military rhetoric. Red lines have been crossed. We're locked and loaded. We're ready to go. And then finally come the tariffs. And diplomatic, a diplomatic outreach is also being examined right now. Has Trump changed his mind after Tehran's outreach?
Thank you. To answer this question, we must first address a more fundamental issue. Did the United States and President Trump ever truly intend, or does it intend, to intervene on humanitarian grounds to protect the people of Iran? If the answer were yes, then questions about communication channels would be largely, or negotiation would be largely irrelevant. By President Trump's own statements, as you mentioned, the Iranian regime has repeatedly crossed red lines by killing its own citizens. According to the latest report, actually, I have read it before this interview, based on internal reports from the regime's different security departments, more than 12,000 citizens have been killed by the regime in previous days. Well, in this situation, a humanitarian intervention aimed at protecting civilians would already be justified, I believe. However, if Trump's remarks were instead a political tool, to pressure or intimidate the regime into accepting negotiation and U.S. conditions in the negotiations, then the logic is different. In that case, any sign of flexibility from the regime would likely be met with flexibility from the Washington as well. So the key point, I think, in this case, what we see as people and the media coverage is not the full picture. Much of what truly shapes this decision or decisions happen behind closed doors, beyond people and media visibility. Those unseen dynamics are often the most decisive, I think.
Understood. Mr. Saleh, now, if we were to just quickly take a recap of what happened in that 12-day war, when Iran was struck, Iran retaliated, and Iran is not a state which is not properly armed. It is armed to the teeth. It has enough weapons. It even has ballistic missiles. Israel did take a good amount of beating even at that time. At this point, do you feel the US would be considering the possible impact on Israel if it carries out a military strike on Iran? Can the Pentagon's assessment differ from Trump's locked and loaded rhetoric?
Yeah, Israel is the United States' most important ally in the region. Defending Israel has long been and will remain a core priority of United States foreign policy. We have seen this repeatedly in practice. For instance, as you mentioned, during the 12-day conflict between Israel and Iran, Israel's ability to control Iranian airspace wouldn't be possible without U.S. military intelligence and satellite support. So the United States has consistently ensured that Israel maintains access to the most advanced military and defense or defensive technologies. So to answer the question directly, yes, of course, the United States will defend Israel against any military confrontation initiated by Iran.
They will defend, but do you feel that would be a concern given what happened during the 12-day war? I'm kind of, that is what I'm aiming to understand from you. The concern that the US would have given the retaliation that will come from Iran, which will be more towards Israel than towards US, the homeland at least.
Yeah, I believe it depends on the United States reaction to the Iran. So and the Iran reaction to the United States humanitarian intervention. I think depending on its type and scale of foreign involvement can also weaken the regime, security forces, and damage the morale of its supports or supporters. So that can embolden protesters and limit the regime's ability to crack down. But if it's not in large scale, so I believe the regime will answer in two different scenarios by repressing more the people and also maybe attacking maybe Israel or United States bases in the region.
Understood. Mr. Asad Saleh, thanks so much for joining us here on the broadcast. A pleasure speaking with you. The situation is evolving very, very fast. It's only getting more and more aggressive coming in from both sides. We'll need to wait and watch how this one plays out. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights.
Thank you.